Welcome back, everyone. This is Zetra bringing you the Mori 1591 rework for Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening. So, I'm I'm gonna just click on this. I'm not gonna be doing any gameplay. This is strictly gonna be going over how I reworked them and what all the changes I made were for the Mori Misery run. So first things first, Terremoto. I believe I'm not gonna act like I remember every trade in this game or who has what traits. I think for Terremoto, I gave him repair because of the fact the Mori were very good at castle repair and were one of the few clans. There's an event on this in the game too, I'm sure, where they use stone instead of human sacrifices to for good well repairing castles. But the Mori in general, post Motonari, were very much civil type people. They Motonari told them when he died to protect their land and to take care of them and to not expand, and Terremoto did just that. The reason I gave him reputation was because he was the supreme commander of the Western Army at Sekigahara, and while he did never fight in that battle, you had to have been well known for that feat, especially considering the Mori had their holdings demoted after that. But Okio, I honestly can't remember what he had either, but he Morishige's cousin joined the rebellion against Nobunaga and then later joined the Toyotomi, networking because he was well traveled. I think he started with equestrian and flattery. I might have gave him equestrian for some reason though. I don't. I wouldn't remember why now, but I want to say he started with equestrian and flattery. Chikashige, I leaned full cover with him, giving eagle-eyed plot devious, but again, Mimura guy opposed his nephew asking Nobunaga for help, exiled, returned with the Mori and killed Mochika. Devious to show how he plotted with the Mori to take control. Eagle-eyed, I think, was on there by default, and plot because he was plotting against his nephew consistently. Hirotaka, I think he started with tactics. And I think I gave him networking at utmost devotion. Yeah, I gave him networking because he was a Ronin and well traveled. And I think utmost devotion was just he was very well devoted to any lord he served under, and only so I guess that's what I was going for there. Hirohide fought at Tsukushima in the invasion of Bocho and was independent, which is Tsukushima was the invasion by Harukata and the invasion of Bocho. Basically, I gave him land advantage. I probably should have chose a better trait than that for Tsukushima, but I thought that made sense considering it was like a castle island he was defending most likely, and then castle raid and on the offensive for the invasion of Bocho. Moto now, more routiner. Right, I gave him devious because he defied his lord on Christianity, impregnable in self-defense. I guess to show basically that he tried to defend himself when he was executed. Probably was what I was going for. And for Yoshihisa, I think he naturally has on the offensive. I gave him self-defense and impregnable because he was the Lord of Goss and Toto when Motonari invaded and was defending the castle. Muritsugu, yeah, he fought the Oda at a castle, and for that reason I went for defense build on him, impregnable, self-defense, counterattack. He did end up joining Toyotomi injured and never fought again, but yeah, I pretty much went full defensive on him for fighting the Oda off at a castle, even if he lost. And for Motokana here, I think I gave him devious because he married. Yeah, he abandoned his lord or during the Mori's invasion, and then eloquence because he was able to talk Lord Ichika into letting him marry his daughter. And I think he naturally had eagle-eyed, I want to say. I think this guy, Moriyoshi, yeah, fought in Sekigahara, so I gave him on the offensive. Flattery because he was able to talk the Mori into letting him join after they defeated the Imago. And eloquence for pretty much the same reason. And well, now, I don't think I messed with Nobu now. Maybe I gave him on the offensive. I probably gave him impregnable and on the offensive. Probably. Because I think he naturally had first blood. No, I gave him first blood. I want to say he only... I'm not going to act like I remember what traits I gave this guy. Alright. I gave him first blood because he served as vanguard for Motoharu, who was the backbone of the Mori's offense. And he was the vanguard for that. And I believe he naturally had on the offensive. And I don't know. I'm looking at impregnable and I'm not sure why I did that, if I gave it to him or if he already had it. Mototsugu, yeah, fought for Hideyoshi, moved to Hagi and worked on the castle. Yeah, he helped develop the castle, which is why I gave him civil construction. I think he already had tactics, and I gave him on the offensive since he fought in one of Hideyoshi's campaigns. Hirotoshi, similar deal but he was able to convince Flattery civil construction for the same reason as the last guy. Flattery because he was able to talk to convince them to let him oversee the construction in Edo, and then land advantage because he fought in the battle of Sekigahara. Mitsukage, I want to say he naturally had Sea God, and I gave him impregnable and counterattack. I'd argue maybe giving him reputation instead would have been better since he was a lord of a castle, which is a common thing with a lot of people I gave reputation, but he left to join the Mori. He defended the castle during its Tsukushima, which is why I gave him impregnable and counterattack, and then he naturally had Sea God. Nokiyo, I think the only thing I gave him was on the offensive. I think he starts with Sea God. I might have given him civil construction as well, but he took over the Hoida. Yeah, he captured Sakanosuke's castle. So I think I gave him on the offensive in his role for that, and I think he naturally had civil construction and Sea God. Motoyuki, Lord of Kiriyama Castle, married the daughter of Muneharu and fought with him. Muneharu was the last defense guy that perished during the siege of Bichu Takamatsu, and since he fought with him and was a castle lord, I gave him reputation. I think he naturally had on the offensive, and I gave him impregnable to show how he helped hold out during Hideyoshi's invasion, most likely. Morkiyo, another lord, so I gave him reputation. I think he started with disaster readiness and impregnable because he battled Motonoru's forces, and even though he was defeated, he did hold out for a while before serving the Mori. Munekatsu, I didn't touch Munekatsu, I think. I think this is just him naturally. Horiyoshi gave him eloquence and flattery because he represented Teramoto during Sekigahara as his diplomat, and I think he naturally had tactics. Takei fought against Motonori, married his daughter, fought along Motoharu, and since Motoharu was the backbone of the Mori's offense, gave him on the offensive Castle Raid and Hot Blooded to show his role being one of the more offensive Mori clan retainers. He was one of the 5 clan administrators, very valorous according to the Shogun. Castle Raid, reputation to show he was famous, not necessarily Castle Lord, and I want to say I gave him repair because of his role as a civil administrator running castles. Oroshige, yeah, he worked with his grandson in Hagi. After the battle of Sekigahara, so he basically was bearing his land with his son as far as I can tell. So I think he naturally had disaster readiness, so I just gave him civil construction and repair to show he was a very civil guy, didn't really fight at all. Moriyasu, Lord of a Castle again, led the attack on Omiotsu Castle for the west of Sekigahara, which I believe he naturally had counterattack, so I think I gave him castle raiding on the offensive to show his role in leading the attack on Otsu Castle. Takeoki, bad bio, I just made him a carbon copy of his father. Sadatoshi, I think he starts with tactics. He was one of the 4 clan advisors, which is why I gave him reputation, and I think I gave him statesman for the same reason of being one of the 4 advisors. I think he naturally starts with tactics. He might have also already had statesman, I can't remember now. Shigeyoshi, Date retainer, improve the reserve system, economic foundation for Sendai. So I went full civil for this guy. I don't even know why he's over here. This is one of the guys that I can't figure out why he was over in the Mori during this start. But I gave him statesman, civil construction, and I think he already had disaster readiness, so he was very much just a civil guy. Kageyoshi, battlefield, very talented. Protected Takakage's widow, Sekigahara. They did their utmost to restore the clan. Just so he was well liked and very good on the battlefield. I gave him on the offensive. And then statesman, civil construction to show he was an economics guy after his fighting under Takakage. I think Yanagasi probably already started with networking, but he was a guy who served the shogunate and moved to Bingo and served the Mori afterwards. So as someone who worked under the shogunate, he probably knew a lot of people, and eloquence because he was, well, able to talk his way into joining the Mori after the shogun moved, and utmost devotion to show his loyalty was to the shogunate for such a long time. I think he might already start with networking, actually. Motoji, Motoharu's son. Yeah, flattery to show he talked his way into taking over another clan. Eloquence to show he was able to talk his way back into being a Mori later on. And I think he naturally had eagle-eyed. Narimasa. This was the guy who killed Teruhiro during his uprising and chased him down. So I gave him castle raid on the offensive. Well, he might have started with one of these attack traits, probably on the offensive. But I think he naturally had repair, and I just let that be for sure. If not, I gave that to him because he was because of, again, Mori with civil administrative types post-modern Mori. Takaharu, Uchi retained some of the Mori after the clan, sister married Takamoto. I gave him eloquence and flattery to show he was very good at flattering for the marriage, and I think he naturally started with repair. If not, I'm sure I did it to lean into the civil prospects. Ototada gave him devious. No, I think he started with devious. I don't think I changed that about him. Maybe I did. Utmost devotion, because he aided Teramoto and controlled land, and eloquence to show how he talked his way into marrying off into the Mori with one of his daughters. Eke, I left Eke alone. This is just normal Eke. Takahide, clan in Iwami, first Uchi after Uchi joined Mori. Fought in the conquest of Iwami, later turned to Hiroshima Castle. Eloquence to show he talked his way into joining the Mori. Utmost devotion because he was loyal to the Mori after the Uchi's demise. We're getting to M, and on the offensive to show he fought in the Imago invasion. And with that, that's pretty much like how I reworked the clan for the most part. I will apologize if I gave any misinformation on the traits any of these people had starting out. A lot of these characters only had 1 or 2 traits, and I can't always remember what traits these clans had before I reworked them. I played this game a lot, but even now I can't tell you who how many different traits or people who lack traits there were. With that being said, thank you all for joining me for this rework video. Oh, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.